and waiting for us. We were waiting on a few other members of the legislature who have either having some trouble on the roads or not able to find the driveway, and we're going to start without them. Thank you for being here today for what is an important announcement. It's always great to be in rural Alberta. I have to say, at this time of the year, as the government house leader and the Minister of Environment, I spend so much time up in Edmonton that it's always just great to be out of here, for not even just for an announcement, Doug, but just to be able to leave the city limits for a little bit and go out to rural Alberta. Today with me we have the Honourable Rick Wilson, who's the Minister of Indigenous Affairs in our province, and we are inside his constituency today. Also, of course, the Honourable Doug Schweitzer, who is the Minister of Justice and the Solicitor General of Alberta. And to my right, the Honourable Casey Mandu, the Minister of Municipal Affairs. I am excited to be here today, not just as a member of the government, but as a proud rural Albertan. We have struggled across rural Alberta for the last several years with rural crime. This is not a strange announcement or a strange proclamation to anybody that rural crime is an issue inside our province. Right here inside the county, in the area of the province that we're in, we continue to see some of the highest crime rates in the country. Places like Red Deer and Lethbridge have been plagued by crime, particularly property crime, for years, and we have continued to come forward to articulate the deep concerns that our constituents have when it comes to this important issue. I have to say that we were quite excited with the government change that we were able to get a new Justice Minister. Minister Schweitzer has shown a lot of interest in what has been taking place in rural Alberta. I have to say right now, on behalf of all rural Albertans, Doug, thank you for traveling all across our province, and thank you for all the kilometers that you've put on these last few months to come and learn and what is taking place inside our community. About a month ago, Minister Schweitzer came to my home riding of Rimbey Rocky Mountain House Sundre, and held a town hall with me in Rocky Mountain House. So we had over 800 people arrive without any advertisement on a cold winter night, just to show how frustrated they were with what was taking place in their communities. Minister Schweitzer and I heard stories after stories of people that were too scared to be inside their homes, of husbands that were traveling far away for work that were scared for their families or their wives and children back home, of spouses who were back home who were scared to be home alone without their spouse while they were traveling, of people who have been robbed multiple times, some of these in violent ways, of people who still had not had an opportunity to even have police be able to respond to the situations that have taken place in their homes or in their farms because the police were too busy working hard to be able to deal with this crime epidemic that we have inside our province. And so that is why we as a government committed to moving quickly on legislation and regulation changes to be able to help combat rural crime. I'm proud of Minister Schweitzer and our entire team for the announcements that he has made already. I think it has started to move forward on this issue in significant ways, and I'm also proud of the announcement that he's about to make today. And I stand here today as a proud rural Albertan, thanking the Minister of Justice for his hard work, but also saying to rural Alberta and Albertans as a whole, we will continue to take crime seriously, and we will continue to work each and every day with you, our municipal partners, our policing partners, to be able to get this right and to make sure that people feel safe in their own homes again. And with that, I'll turn it over to Minister Schweitzer.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Minister Nixon, and thank you everyone for coming here today as well. Thank you so much for having us here on your farm. So I really appreciate it. For me as an MLA from the city of Calgary, I had the opportunity to tour across Alberta over the last few months. We've been as far north as Fairview, we've been down to Coaldale, Drayton Valley, meeting just with Albertans, talking to the rural Albertans about crime and the fact that they simply don't feel safe right now in their communities. And this is having an incredible toll on so many people across rural Alberta. The mental health issues that it's causing, the anxiety that it's causing, where people are concerned about leaving loved ones behind on their properties, people that are just living in fear at night when they hear noises on their properties. So really we want to make sure that we tell rural Albertans that we've heard you, that we're listening to you, and that we're taking decisive action throughout our mandate so far. We had our announcements earlier this month, or earlier in November, and today's announcement is another step towards making sure that we tackle rural crime. So that to those Albertans as well, for me, it's been eye-opening, and I appreciate all of the stories that they have told and shared. It has allowed us to get to where we are today. Your feedback has been immensely powerful, as well as the consultation that we've had with our municipal leaders to get to this point today to announce this new historic announcement. So today, we're here to announce this new police funding model. We're marking the single largest overall investment in rural policing since the March West. and we are forging a new partnership with the communities that rely on us to help keep them safe. This historic new partnership between all three levels of government constitutes an additional investment of over $286 million over 5 years to go into policing. This is going to go into frontline policing here in rural Alberta. Every dollar goes right back into rural policing for the province. What this will mean will be an additional 500 law enforcement personnel here in Alberta helping keep our communities safe. From boots on the ground perspective for the RCMP, right now we have approximately 1,600 RCMP members that are here in rural Alberta. This will take us up to approximately 1,900 police officers. It'll also allow us to hire support staff, to allow us to do tactical units, to provide technical expertise, to make sure we have the behind the scenes work that can be done to go after drug trafficking, organized crime, and other tactical areas. These will also include scrap metal units, auto theft units, as well as call center management to ensure better call center response times so the police have the proper support network so they can get to help Albertans in crisis. Furthermore, we'll integrate our 400-person rapid force that we announced in November. These are the sheriffs, Fish and Wildlife peace officers, and commercial vehicle officers will be integrated into this plan. This is important to help make sure that the rapid force can alleviate pressures on our police across Alberta. Beyond just putting boots on the ground, though, we're fixing a police funding system that we are told has been broken, not only for cities, but for small and rural communities whose wide open spaces, long distances, and back roads have long posed a challenge for police to cover such vast distances. And we're here today replacing that with a new police funding model that's equitable, where every municipality contributes, and that where we lay the foundation for sustainable policing for rural communities going forward. This change in the funding model will not happen all at once, but will be phased in over a 4-year period of time. This will give our municipalities time to adjust. But this funding model as well is a true new partnership for rural municipalities. With the funding comes a true new seat at the table. It's my belief, and the feedback that we received, is that policing is at its best when you have local leadership at the table helping to set the priorities. And that's why we're going to be setting up the Alberta Police Advisory Board. We're going to work in partnership to set the priorities for our policing, how the money is to be spent, as well as making sure that it addresses the priorities of our local communities. The creation of this governance mechanism will ensure that policing is in line with the priorities of the communities that are helping fund it and for the people that are there to protect. Ensuring Albertans feel safe in their communities is paramount, and it goes to the heart of what this government is trying to accomplish here in tackling rural crime. We want to make sure that the funding model is sustainable, and we want to make sure that we have the enhanced abilities to keep all our rural Albertans safe and secure in their homes. Today we'll be moving forward with a new historic partnership. I really do thank all of the parties that have been part of this and the discussions that they've made and the feedback that they've provided us to allow us to get to this point to make this announcement today. And with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Minister Madhu.
Thank you so much, Doug, and Minister Nixon, and Minister Wilson, and my colleagues who are also here this morning. And thank you to all of you. You know, folks, I've had the great pleasure of working closely with Minister Schweitzer on this very important but complicated file. And I can report that, you know, I have been impressed with the vigor and the amount of interest and dedication that Minister Schweitzer brought to bear on this particular file. So thank you once again, everyone, for being here today for this historic announcement. As you heard, my name is Casey Madhu. I am the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and I have been participating in consultations with Minister Schweitzer, his team, and so many of our rural and urban municipal partners. These consultations have been extensive and comprehensive. I heard personally from dozens of municipal leaders that took part, and they have brought us to where we are today. And so for that, I want to thank each and every one of them. That consultation is not over. We will be creating the Alberta Police Advisory Board, as Minister Schweitzer noted, to ensure that these new funds get to the intended municipalities. We will be relying, obviously, on rural municipalities of Alberta and the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association to appoint the members to that particular board. And I am proud that we are being joined for this historic announcement today by Mr. R. Kammerer, the President of the Rural Municipalities of Alberta, and Mr. Barry Morishida, the President of the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association. I want to now turn the microphone over to them, beginning obviously with the President of the RMA, to tell us more about what this announcement means for both our rural and urban municipalities. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Minister Madu, and I do need to share a little bit. This is like me coming home. I represent a rural municipality, but I'm a retired dairy farmer. And I've never worn my suit jacket in my dairy barn, so that's the new part. But my political career actually started in the Alberta Wholesale Association and on the Alberta Milk Board. So this is like coming home for me, and I just needed to qualify that. But I want to thank the government for having us to be part of this announcement today, and I do need to acknowledge a tremendous amount of consultation that did take place on this project, and it's no small project. And Minister Schweitzer has covered the province. He's engaged us in a lot of the consultation, and that's why some of the comments I'm going to make are not going to be a total surprise to them, because consultation brings all that information out. But this is an important piece for rural Alberta. Rural crime is an item that's been on the radar for a fair few years. And it was interesting, I drove from Olds here this morning, and as I'm listening to the radio, they're talking about the stats of rural crime in my community being back up to where they were in the 2017 levels. And so that just only re-emphasizes the need to do something to try and deal with the rural crime issue. And so our members are going to be very supportive of that approach. I find the comments on the governance committee, I can't remember the full label of it, but the intent of it is to have us and AUMA at the table to talk about the process, to talk about what's working, to talk about deliverables, and then to hold the accountability piece. To me, that's going to be key for this whole process to work, because it is that local impact that we're going to be sourcing from our municipal members to try and make sure that this is going to be all it can be. You know, none of these things come without concerns and without comments on those concerns. And the concern I shared with Minister Madu a few minutes ago is the fact that this is coming from a rural municipality's point of view. It's better now than later, put it that way. But it is coming at a time where rural municipalities are feeling the challenges of a lot of different aspects too, from the changes in the assessment year modifiers to the assessment process that's coming, and some of those challenges from a taxation point of view. But I believe I represent a bunch of resilient municipalities, and we will find a way to work through that over a period of time. But it is going to be a challenge for us to work our way through that. But the end goal here today is to talk about the fact that we are going to do together, move forward on a process to try and address the rural crime issue, and I thank the government for that support.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
At AUMA, certainly we have, our name is Alberta Urban, but we certainly represent communities that are very rural in nature, that they rely on the rural economy and what happens in rural areas to succeed. So we're very pleased with the announcement today. In my tours of Alberta the last 2 summers, one of the common threads in communities was rural crime, and it continues to be rural crime. And we're really pleased about the consultative model that they're talking about with RMA and AUMA reps involved in creating the priorities for this new spending, and also the fact that they'll be driving down accountability and planning down to the local level, because strong communities are built on feeling safe and secure in their homes. And we believe that by working together with municipalities and the government of Alberta and the RCMP, that can be accomplished. And we think there's no better model than what's been presented in terms of having equity in the funding. We think everybody that pays should have a say in what goes forward. This has been a resolution that's been at AUMA for some time, so we're very pleased the government's acted, and we look forward to improving the safety and security of Albertans in urban areas and in the rural areas and the small communities all across Alberta. We believe working together we can make this, so I congratulate the government on a job well done.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you so much. The RCMP. Please.
first. You come introduce yourself.
Thank you, Minister Nixon. Honorable Ministers, MLAs, Mr. Kamir, Mr. Morishida. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank the Wozniak family for having us here at their farm here this morning. Today, the government of Alberta has made a significant commitment to the safety of Albertans, and the Alberta RCMP is ready to deliver on that commitment. It also means, this investment means more frontline officers patrolling in your rural communities this year and in the years ahead. It also means enhancing our visibility and response times, effectively addressing those inherent challenges that we find in rural policing. And most importantly, enhancing safety in your communities, no matter where you live in the province. I've heard from rural Albertans, and they've seen firsthand that the need for increased policing resources has never been greater. This funding will allow the Alberta RCMP to put additional resources where they're needed most immediately, on the front line in your detachments, protecting your backyards and your farmyards, pushing back crime in an evidence-based and focused manner. We've seen positive results from our crime reduction strategy thus far, but we know that it isn't enough. Supported by more officers in detachments, our crime reduction teams will be able to expand and build on the solid successes we've seen, identifying and removing prolific offenders from our communities. The addition of professional and specialized civilian positions in areas like intelligence and analytics will ensure our crime reduction strategies continue to be innovative, sophisticated, and successful. The kind of crime we're seeing across Alberta isn't just petty crime. It includes serious and dangerous offenses like armed robberies, serious assaults, auto theft. Effectively addressing these issues takes police officers with specialized skills, and it's why our next steps in leveraging this funding are so important. In addition to bolstering our front line, we'll be increasing our specialized capacity in our investigational, serious crimes, and forensic identification services. Key services that allow us to be more agile in finding and arresting those responsible for harming our citizens, doing our very best to ensure they're brought to justice. While these short and medium-term strategies of deploying new Alberta RCMP resources will be visible and tangible for Albertans, the root issues, did I lose you? Okay, I did. You still got me? Okay, great. The root issues causing crime in our communities needs to be addressed well before our police officers ever make an arrest. Our long-term goals see the RCMP in this province strengthening the community, health and welfare, and government partnerships that we've built in Alberta. Through participating and supporting programs that address issues like mental health, poverty, and addiction, we're creating the pathways away from crime and away from an endless cycle of incarceration. Collaboration with our citizens and government partners is vital. This funding will alleviate the pressures that have been felt on the front lines of the Alberta RCMP. For many years, our employees have been holding steady, suppressing and reducing increasing crime with the resources we've had. I want to thank them for their dedication and commitment. We have a couple of them with us here today. With more funding, we can do more, and we will. Citizens in the government of Alberta can count on the RCMP to ensure their investment is used efficiently, delivering the high quality of police services they deserve and expect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, they are. So that, over a 5-year period of time, the $286 million. So that'll be about $86 million from the federal government, and about the $200 million would come from the municipalities over that 5-year period of time. The vast majority of the funding would still come from the province. The amount of money that we're putting in would stay the same, and plus we're making additional investments into the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Team. And our team can get you the breakdown. It's actually a pretty complicated formula. Our team can get you the breakdown if you need it.
how quickly can we see boots on the ground? Like, when are we going to start seeing officers hired and into detachments, and when does the determination on where they go begin?
It'll happen in 2020, but maybe Curtis can give you some more details.
I think the timing of this announcement is important. Gives us a little bit of a heads up on what's going to be obviously a significant investment and work ahead of us in getting the resources in place across the province. The specific placement of the resources will be using a number of factors, predominantly our police resourcing methodology. That's a number of formulas that take into account workloads, calls for service, crime trends, those kinds of things. So we will have formulas. We'll be evidence-based in making those decisions as to specifically where those resources are going to go. For us currently, the priority is on the front line. It's in our detachments. We want to enhance visibility, response times across our communities, and that's a priority for us.
Do we have to buy cars? Do we have to buy equipment? Like, what's the capital side of this?
Yeah, obviously that'll be part of the equation as well. Yeah.
Were there anybody on the phone who had any questions? Okay, unfortunately, we can't take anybody questions
On the phone?
or on the phone. This is a audio-visual issue, but if anybody else has any questions here, we'll certainly more than happy to respond.
I do have, they're unrelated.
That's working now. So
It is working. From a colleague, want to ask about some of the justice cuts. How many lawyers will remain in children's services? Can you speak to that?
At this point in time, we're still working through our budget plans for next year. We are looking at ways to streamline and downsize our civil service right now when it comes to the civil legal service that we provide. Right now as well, we're also encouraging many of the lawyers that we have to apply for positions on the prosecution service. Obviously we need to fill the 25 to 30 unfilled positions on prosecution service and hire an additional 50 lawyers in the process to fill out our full ranks in the prosecutions. We're going to be doing that. When it comes to providing services to other ministries like children's services, energy, health, we're working with those departments right now on our budget plans for next year.
And just, if I may, a follow-up. So how do you justify losing that much experience, 1/3 of a department, if the 90 cuts transpire?
Well, the biggest thing here is we have to focus on Alberta's priorities. And right now we've heard loud and clear from Albertans is they want to make sure that our prosecution ranks have the full complement that they need. In addition to that, we have to get better at delivering our service. Perfect example of that is MS-DOS is a foundational delivery model in our court services. That's a computer program from 1981. I was 2 years old. So we still use facsimile as one of the most efficient ways of filing documents. I mean, right now we are working like it's the 1980s, and we need to bring our Justice Department into the modern era.
Minister, would you be able to just say, because the people on the phones can't hear that I say that we can't get questions on the phones, can you just repeat that?
Oh, sorry. For the people that are on the phone lines and that are trying to participate in, we're having some technical difficulties here. If you have further questions, my press secretary, Jonah, can work with you to get a response. I apologize. We had a mic issue happen, I think, midstream here, so I apologize for that.
Can I ask one more on the justice cuts? Won't this actually cost taxpayers more?
No, it won't. That's why we're going to have budget reductions in our department. We're going to continue to meet the priorities of Albertans, and that's what we're working through right now, to make sure we fund the priorities of Albertans, making sure we deliver for them, making sure cases aren't dropped into criminal processes, making sure that we fund their priorities.
Thank you very much, everybody.